Hey guys, welcome back to Talk Tech with Chidi, and I'm Chidi, and in this video we're diving into what's causing a lot of buzz in the tech world, and that is Apple's failed push to integrate AI into their existing ecosystem. Now, many moons ago, or what seems like many moons ago now, Apple announced Apple Intelligence, and it was this cool feature that was going to take over iPhones. Basically, Siri, which we have known for a while, was going to get a much anticipated glow up, and we were going to experience artificial intelligence in a very, very unique way in our iPhones. Now, of course, for some of you that are iPhone users, you would know that AI has actually been in the iPhone, for some time now, but it's not been at the level where you could actually say, hey, this is really, really intelligent. And Siri, let's be honest, hasn't been very great for a very, very long time. And if you look around the world today and you see things like ChatGPT, you're thinking, how can that same functionality and intelligence come into the iPhone to make it a more intuitive and context-aware experience for iPhone users? Now, unfortunately, when Apple announced Apple Intelligence in the WWDC conference in 2024, so if you don't know what that is, it's this conference Apple does every year where they announce new products and new devices, etc. They announced that the Apple Intelligence was going to be released fully in iOS 18.5.
With iOS 18, iPadOS 18, and macOS Sequoia, we are embarking on a new journey to bring you intelligence that understands you. Apple Intelligence is the personal intelligence system that puts powerful generative models right at the core of your iPhone, iPad, and Mac. But,
that hasn't come, and, there's been a lot of delays and postponements, and a lot of people have been left bewildered by the fact that, this has happened. I mean, this is not something that you would typically expect from a company like Apple. And when you look around the likes of Facebook and Google, they seem to be making great strides with AI, but it seems like Apple is lagging behind. And the one AI feature which they did introduce, they introduced a bunch of, little bits and pieces of AI features. I'm not going to talk about this in this video, but the one feature that it did introduce was these AI summaries, which basically would summarize notifications from different apps on your phone. And, it hasn't really worked properly, and now Apple are announcing that they're going to disable that feature in an upcoming update. So what really happened, and why is this the case? Okay, in order for you to truly understand why this has been a struggle for Apple, you need some AI education. So let me help you out with that. As an AI expert, this is something that I can help you with. Okay, so the way AI works is that it needs a lot of data, and I mean huge amounts of it. Take ChatGPT, for example. The reason ChatGPT is really successful today is because OpenAI trained that on huge amounts of data. I mean, huge amounts of data. And there wasn't really kind of any sort of ethical boundaries put in place. They were training this on any and every kind of data that was publicly available. And they did this for a long, long period of time. This is why ChatGPT has become successful the way it is today. And every time you and I talk with ChatGPT and we exchange information, we're also giving it more data so that it can improve. Of course, there are ways, guardrails that they build around that, but still, the more data AI has, the better it becomes. Data is the lifeblood of AI models. Now, this is a huge problem for Apple. The reason why is because Apple pride themselves on data privacy, right? The Apple is very committed to data privacy, and that's something that, has made iPhone users, including me, very, very appreciative of Apple. Knowing that your data is protected and it isn't just going to random companies online is a very, very nice feeling. The problem is when it comes to the AI arena, that doesn't work really well. Now, all these other AI companies like Google and Meta are training their models on the social media data, on Google information. Apple, on the other hand, does not have that ecosystem in place that it can train its models on these public pieces of information. Because at the end of the day, AI itself has to work on your device, has to be tailored to you, has to give you a personalized experience. In order for the AI to do that, it needs your own data to do that. So this is the challenge that Apple is facing. So it's trying to balance innovation with a commitment to data privacy. Something that I can tell you as an AI expert is a very, very difficult feat to achieve. So how can Apple work around this? Now, I've come up with some thoughts that I do think that will be very useful for Apple to consider. Now, it sounds crazy because I'm this random YouTuber talking about this, but hey, okay, I know my stuff, right? First things first, Apple needs to give users a choice. Think about it. There are definitely users who want to have a more personalized AI experience and users who care more about their data. So if I was in Apple's case, I would say, hey, if you want to opt in to share your data with us so we can train it on our AI models, go ahead. And if you don't want to share your data with us, we respect that. But what that simply means is that you would have a much less personalized AI experience. I think this approach really puts the power in the hands of the users, which is something that is a very Apple thing to do anyways. So you're putting the power in the hands of the users and then the choice to make. Hey, if you want to protect your data, then you get a very, very lame version of Siri, essentially. But if you do want to opt in to share your data with Apple to build and train the AI models, then you get a much, much cooler, much more personalized version of Siri. It's essentially having this user-centric approach where users have to choose between data or privacy first or functionality and experience first. This is something that I think would help Apple to kind of go forward in their AI race. The second thing that I think will be useful for Apple to consider is partnering with companies that are actually building AI models that can run on devices. Now, let me break this down and make it really simple. The way a lot of these AI models work, like ChatGPT, for example, is that there is massive computers that these AI models are kept on so that they can run and process data, effectively, right? So these AI models are huge. They're huge. By huge, I mean they're huge in size. So they need huge amounts of computing power to be able to run effectively. The problem is, because they're running on these massive computers, if I want to interact with that AI model, I have to send information from my device to that computer, or massive computer that monstrous AI model is located in. What this means is that data is essentially leaving my device to that device. And this is a big issue for Apple because it's something that they don't feel comfortable doing. They've always been able to have data exist within their ecosystem and protect it that way, right? The iCloud. And so, it means that data is going to where data should. The problem is, if they're going to use a platform like ChatGPT, for example, that means data technically is still in one way, shape, or form leaving your device to that computer or server where that monstrous massive AI model is on. But if Apple was to collaborate and partner with companies that are actually building lighter versions of AI models that can actually exist within the device itself, this would mean that data actually does not leave your device, that it stays exactly on the iPhone hardware itself. Now, I know what you're thinking, and this is well, why haven't Apple thought about this? Well, you see, it's just not very cool to kind of go with these other AI companies. Most companies would want to go with the more established companies like ChatGPT, but the problem is their models are too massive and for on-device processing. So companies like Stability AI would be huge for Apple to consider partnering with, because with these companies, they can have AI models deployed on your iPhone device, personalized and tailored to you. In summary, what I'm saying is Apple should consider partnerships with these other companies because that will actually get them towards that more sort of data privacy stand that Apple so cares about. Here's another thing that Apple should consider. Now, I know I talked about partnerships with all these other companies and startups that are building lighter versions of AI models, but they could also buy them, right? And if you buy that company, Apple has the funds to do that and bring them in and make them kind of part of the AI ecosystem at Apple. That could actually get them a lot further as well. And also make sure that that model and all that information stays within the Apple ecosystem. Another thing that Apple needs to consider is stop being secretive. Okay, this is something that Apple has always done for a very, very long time. They're usually very secretive about the things they're working on. And, Apple was very silent about AI for a very long time. So nobody kind of really knew where they were on the AI kind of spectrum. But the reality is that doesn't work within the AI space. Okay, it might have worked in the hardware space, in the software space when Apple was releasing products back in the day. But the companies that are really thriving in the world of AI are actually actively contributing to AI research. And this is something that Apple might want to consider doing moving forward. It will certainly change public perception and give people a better feel of the possibilities of what Apple can do with artificial intelligence. And last but not least, the WWDC is coming up in June this year. This will be an opportunity for Apple to set a clear plan and a clear vision of what it is they actually want to do with artificial intelligence. What's going to be the future of Siri? What's going to be the future of the iPhone? Are they going to start to do some of the things that I talked about in the beginning of this video, that I talked about earlier when I talked about partnerships, acquisitions, investments? Is Apple going to announce anything of the sort? Is Apple going to give users the choice so that they can actually train on data and make their models better? These are the things that Apple should come out front and center and be very clear about exactly what it is they want to do. And also, don't just talk the talk, come out with some demos, show some things that would actually change public perception and let people understand what Apple is working on and what could possibly come out in the future. And this is something OpenAI does really well. Whenever they're about to release a product or a feature, they'll come out at a conference and they'll do some demos and actually get people excited of what's possible to do with ChatGPT in the upcoming months, and then actually release it. This is a very, very radical approach. Apple has to treat, AI, the companies that thrive in AI, companies that actually treat this as a research field. And this is what Google is doing. This is what Meta is doing. This is what OpenAI is doing. They're actually contributing to the field and not just trying to, push out products. So Apple needs to consider these approaches. And I think if Apple does this, this will start to change public perception and certainly put them on the right track for the next couple of years as far as AI is concerned. Okay, now look, in hindsight, Apple Intelligence might have been done too hastily. Apple is known for putting out refined products, and these amazing, almost luxury experiences for users. That hasn't quite worked out with Apple Intelligence. And I don't blame Apple. I mean, this is such a heated AI boom right now. And all the top tech giants are making, huge leaps, like Metas of the world, the Googles of the world, and now entering OpenAI. So of course there was pressure on Apple to do something and to try to catch up, because a lot of people feel like there hasn't been any sort of real innovation at the company for a very long time. So in hindsight, this might have been just too much of a hasty decision for Apple to get into the AI race. But let's not forget, the tech world is fast evolving. And Apple has been around for a very, very long time. They know how to make a comeback, and they've been very successful at doing it. Sure, a commitment to data privacy would mean slower rollouts, but it would mean more refined and more ethically AI-driven products in the future. So this is something that Apple users should not be afraid of, because at the end of the day, this approach may actually work out for you in the long term. However, if Apple do want to get back on track very quickly, I think considering that approach where you give users the opportunities to share their data or not, and trade a more personalized experience for data privacy or vice versa, and then actually considering strategic relationships and investments in companies that are actually developing these lightweight models that can run on your device so that it can protect your data, can probably get Apple back into the AI race. These are my thoughts, but I want to know your thoughts. Let me know what you think in the comments section below. Do you think Apple is ever going to catch up with the likes of Google, OpenAI, and Meta? Or do you think that Apple is just going to stay behind and we're always going to have a Siri that struggles to set multiple alarms in succession? You guys tell me. Let me know in the comments section below. If you've enjoyed this video, please like, share, comment, and subscribe. And thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Ta-da.